What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Charm City Heavyweights Podcast, brought to you by Great 8 Sports Memorabilia in Parkville, Maryland. I'm the host, Matt Trigger. With me today, as always, my co host, Josh Merrill. What's going on, Josh?
So Matt coming live from the man cave, watching the 49ers in Dallas,
Yeah,
chilling,
I was watching a little bit of that before we got started. Yeah, this is the Ravens season wrap up show. You know,
wrapping it
now
up.
now that we've finally had a week to digest it and see what's going on. You know,
For
uh,
the last month, you've been saying you've been looking forward to this episode.
I have because it's over.
Yeah,
It's all over, man. For 2022, it's just seasons of wrap. We can finally start, enjoying Sundays and not being nervous and irritated for days on
that's the
end.
best part about it is you don't have to be stressed out about nothing. You just
Yeah,
relax.
there's nothing to stress about. Seeing Joe Burrow win today, was
Sad.
irritating, but it it is what it is with that. Nothing crazy.
Buffalo
Um,
laid an egg, man. Their own weather, I think, hurt them.
yeah, their own weather hurt them a little bit. That wasn't, but we're starting to see that Josh Allen's also human. So I'm kind of happy that people are
It
starting to
always shows
realize.
that. We saw the human side of Mahomes last year.
Yeah, it's nice because they're all put on a pedestal as being these great quarterbacks. And last time I checked, losses count just as much as wins in the playoffs. And Allen's now 4-4 and hasn't, proceeded to a Super Bowl yet. Hopefully, Burrow loses next week. I'd rather see Pat Mahomes in there with a chance to win one before Joe Burrow because that arrogant sack of shit is the last person I want to see hoisting a Lombardi ever in
Ever.
ever in my life as a fan. So we're gonna talk some good and bad with the Ravens. We're not really gonna break down analytics the way that we usually do, but it's gonna be a year recap. We'll talk about our favorite game, um, the biggest surprise on the team, the biggest letdown, team MVP, favorite moment of the year, that type of stuff. And let's just lead off with who's your team MVP this year, Josh?
It's a good question. Man, I know for me, the politically correct answer would be Roquan. Um, but I really want to say, oh man, I want to say Patrick Queen, Matt, but
For
I'm gonna go
team
Marlon
MVP?
just because he turned it on, like he turned it around. He went from nothing to freaking one of the best linebackers in football, and it really helped our defense. But now the argument you could say is that's all because of Roquan. You know, Roquan's going to make Patrick Queen a lot of money for another team in a couple of years.
Oh, absolutely. He's definitely going to make Patrick Queen a very rich man. But I mean, I'm kind of I can see both sides of the argument in terms of Patrick Queen being team MVP, but I'm not leaning that direction, man. I'm gonna go with um, Marlon Humphrey. Honestly,
It's a good answer.
Marlon had a fantastic year. If you break down his his yards allowed, he averaged 30 yards a game allowed in terms of one-on-one coverage and
No
like guys that he was
touchdown, which
responsible
that's
for. No
insane.
no touchdowns. He's graded out as the best cornerback in football. Um, that to me is and he showed grit. He got hurt in a couple of these games, came back in. To me,
Good call.
Marlon's the team MVP this year. A lot of people were talking about this on social media, and I saw a lot of people say that Lamar Jackson is the team MVP because you saw what we were without him. But that doesn't constitute MVP in my eyes because there's a simple fact that there's a perception amongst the Ravens fans, and particularly me and you on this show, where he quit on the team. Regardless of what people say, that was brought up amongst us on air. So I can't give him the MVP, even though it's clear what he is and what the team is with and without him.
That's a good point. Don't forget about Kyle Hamilton, man. He graded out the best safety in football.
Yeah, but I was gonna say that he might have been the biggest surprise because of the way he
Was he
improved.
though? Or was he a surprise though, or was it like he finally got to where we all thought he should have started?
Yes, no, the thing is, he had lofty expectations, but seeing him in the preseason and seeing him in the first month of the regular season, we thought
That
that this was going to
Miami
be
game was bad, bro. I was starting to think, oh my god.
exactly. So when you put it in that perspective, it's really there's really grounds for him to be considered the biggest surprise because not only did he become a serviceable starter, he became the best safety we had on this team.
Yeah.
He's excellent in run coverage. He's excellent in open field tackling. He understood the coverages later on in the year,
Just took him a
and
minute to figure it out.
it did. So I think he's the biggest surprise. Who was your biggest surprise on the team this year?
Isaiah Likely, because he came out with big expectations and then he kind of fell off. That Jets game was bad, man. He had rookie written all over his head. But I think that dude's going to be a player, man. He had a big game against Tampa. That was one of my favorite games of the year was that Tampa game, and he didn't get a lot of opportunities, but when he did, he made shit happen. I mean, I think Likely's going to be the man.
The thing is, if he continues this trajectory upward and he becomes a
And he
viable,
started blocking a little bit, not consistent, but once in a while
he's
you get a
two
block out of him.
he's 240 pounds. I'm not
Yeah,
expecting
he's
him to
lanky.
block 280-pound defensive ends.
No.
He's one of those guys that you want to keep your eye on for the next couple of years because there's going to eventually come a time where they're going to have to pay Andrews again, and I know that's foreshadowing because Andrews has got 2 more years left on his deal. But if Likely is the real deal, you can really tell Andrews like, hey, this isn't a life or death situation with you on this roster come 2025 if he's the real deal. But I liked him. I thought that he was kind of in the running for me for biggest surprise, but it really took him to the end of the year to really make an impact. So I left him off of that list for me.
End of the year,
Yeah, I mean he made some plays here and
midway
there during the
point.
middle of the year, but the last couple of weeks he really came on.
Hmm.
I mean he had a good game against New Orleans and then he disappeared for a couple of weeks. You know what I'm saying?
No, it was opportunities.
It was opportunities, but the thing is, if you're staying consistent, the opportunities will be there because you'll be on the field.
In Greg Roman's offense.
He's a tight end.
Yeah, yeah.
Greg
Touche. I got.
Roman, Greg Roman loves tight ends and running backs. That's
He
their dream
does.
offense right there.
That dude's gonna be hired soon. His name's coming up in a few jobs.
Oh yeah, he'll definitely be hired. I don't think he'll probably have his pick on where he goes. He's probably gonna be a run game coordinator somewhere, if
Yeah.
not a running backs coach or something. Um, I'm interested to hear what you have to say though, Bud, about the biggest disappointment this year.
No. Lamar Jackson.
I knew you were going to
Where
say
he
it. I
started,
I,
just because it
I
is.
want to.
We're kind of ruined the season. It wasn't that bad of a season, man. There was a lot of games we should have won. And Eric said in the press conference the other day, there's a lot of games we could have lost too, so it kind of evens out. And you never think of it that way, but probably Lamar. Just the way it went. How, he wasn't worried about the money till after the season. And I get it's a business for him. I really do understand that. And it's a risk if he plays. And I get that. But it was just disappointing how it ended. I don't know if we're going to keep him or what's going to happen, but it was disappointing because I felt like he gave up.
It's a very dicey situation right now with his contract, and from all accounts, it seems like he's stuck on a
A
certain
lot of people
number.
think he gave up last year too.
Yeah, it's become a recurring theme. He's been our starter for 4 full seasons, and if you want to go ahead and count half of 2018, he's been our starter 4.5 years now, and he hasn't finished an entire season healthy since 2019 when he was the league MVP, the
Yeah.
unanimous MVP. 2020 he missed some games due to COVID, and then 2021 the ankle injury, and then 2022 is the knee injury. There's a lot of questions around. We'll get to that a little bit later in the show because I know that you want to talk about Lamar's contract situation and the press conference that surrounded the stepping down of Greg Roman, which was the nicest possible way they could sugarcoat that they fired him.
Yeah, that's how the Ravens do it. It's very rare you see somebody fired.
My biggest disappointment this year is Odafe Owe. He had a couple good games sprinkled in there, but for somebody that was a first round draft pick, you don't draft projects in the first round unless you have that luxury. And we don't have the pass rush that's a luxury. So if you're drafting a pass rusher in the first round, you're expecting him to produce to a level. I'm not saying you got to come out and break the NFL sack record as a rookie because that's impossible. But when we drafted Terrell Suggs at in the top 10 back in 2003, the guy came out and had 11 sacks his first year.
It was you knew right away he was a monster. That's just how good players are.
Right. And then we've had decent pass rush over the last couple of years come and go, but when you're expecting somebody with that much of an athletic ability to produce, and you don't notch your first sack until halfway into the season, and then not only that, you're getting outperformed by a 34-year-old Justin Houston, a 34-year-old Jason Pierre-Paul. Tyus Bowser comes back mid-season and leapfrogs you.
Ojabo gets in one play, gets a push off the fucking block and nails fucking
Joe Burrow. Exactly.
Yeah, like bro, he's not it, man.
So
he's
to me, honestly, to me, if
were you really surprised though? Come on.
No, but the thing is, I had expectations that year two he would kind of take a jump, and he didn't. So to me, Odafe Owe,
until that dude learns to bend or learn any kind of move. Now that last game was the best game I think he's ever played. I know he's made some big plays early in his rookie year, but
his first game, the first game where he had that tackle,
I thought he was going to be a beast.
Yeah, the tackle strip and recovery all in one, and then he hits that rookie wall last year and disappears, and then this year it's like he hit the same wall, and then he
can't get around
it. He's not very good in run coverage. He's not very good at pass rushing. What are you good at this point? He's starting to feel like how I felt about Patrick Queen before this year, even to a degree until Roquan got here, and. That kind of leads me into the next, not necessarily award, but who would you say is the unsung hero of the 22 Ravens this year? The guy that just held everything together, but wasn't necessarily on the front lines in terms of the praise that everybody was giving in terms of the fans and the analysts.
It's a tough question, Matt. I think the offensive line is what didn't get enough credit. I think they're one of the better lines in football. We basically said in the press conference we can't keep Powers. Eric said, he's going to make it to free agency, so he's not in their plans. But I think the offensive line was one of the better ones in football. You really didn't hear too much about it. I thought they were good pass blocking. I mean, you heard about the run blocking, obviously. But they were a good pass blocking offensive line. And Stanley, sorry, buddy. I owe him a big apology talking all that shit. And Drew was doing the right thing. He knew his body. He knew he wasn't ready yet. As much as Harbaugh and probably Eric and everyone was saying, you got to get your ass on the field. We paid you a lot of money. What the fuck? And he said, I don't care. Fuck you. And, and he sat there and ate it, and then showed everybody he was right and we were wrong. As he proceeded to come back full strength, no fucking issues.
Other than that Pittsburgh game, Ronnie Stanley had a fantastic year.
Oh, hey, Ronnie Stanley.
The only thing that happened was somebody pissed off Cam Hayward, and he went nuts that game. That was the only game where I really saw Ronnie Stanley get thrown around. My unsung hero, it's going to sound It's going to sound crazy because he's been a Raven.
Oh God.
No, it's not going to be too crazy, and I'm going to justify it. It's Brent Urban, and I know he's a rotational defensive tackle, defensive end, but the guy came in when Calais got hurt, and there wasn't a huge fall off in the run defense, and
That's true.
there was a difference, but Urban stepped in whether Matabike wasn't on the field, Calais Campbell wasn't on the field, or Broderick Washington. He played all three positions with his hand in the dirt, and he made some plays. He got his hands up, batting down passes in the run lane. I believe he blocked a field goal this year, if I'm not mistaken. He contributed to a lot of different aspects of the team, and he's not a guy that immediately comes to your mind and says he's an elite or a high level player. But the guy, we drafted him years ago. He left for greener pastures. He was in Tennessee for a while, Chicago for a while, Dallas for a while. But I think Urban really stepped up and was a very good role player and rotational player for the defense. I thought that he played his ass off whenever he was in there, and he was always high energy, high motor, and you never really noticed him doing anything that made you think like, what the hell's going on? Why did he do that? His name didn't come up in that manner, at least in the games that I watched, and I watched every single one of them just like you. So that's my unsung hero this year. People might not agree with me, but I believe that Urban really earned himself another year or two here. If they're willing to give him some money to stay, he's important because you never know what's going to happen with Calais if he's going to come back at that $9 million cap hit, and you really don't know.
Tough.
You don't know. I believe Matabike is gone, so
Yeah.
you're going to need somebody to kind of fill that
Somebody's going
gap.
to overpay him. That's an inconsistent son of a bitch. He was almost my biggest disappointment.
Yeah, but the thing is, he wasn't my biggest disappointment because I didn't expect a whole lot from him anyway. And I said that in the beginning of the year when we were still on Stadium Rant that I didn't believe that he was going to have the impact that we initially thought. So that's where I'm at with the unsung hero. Um, let's get a little bit more current now, Josh. What
Talk about the
are
presser.
There we go. Lead the way, my man. What do you think about the press conference that went down on Thursday?
I enjoyed it. I was very excited when they announced it. I look forward to it every year. Um, I think they addressed everything. I think for the most part they were truthful about a lot, but I think they were blowing smoke up our ass about some of it. Um, they admitted that they kind of effed up on the wide receiver room.
Oh, they definitely
Um,
did. There's no doubt
they
about that. They
admitted,
definitely
yeah,
they
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 didn't
messed
really
that all up.
bullshit. I mean, Eric admitted it, and then he's like, well, we did lose Bateman and Duvernay.
But
He's tried to, right.
what the hell can you do? I mean,
And I get why they didn't go heavy in the wide receiver room, and I kind of agree with that at the start of the year. So I got to admit that. I was arguing with you, saying, no, go what we got. Go what we can. You're like, we need something else. I just thought Duvernay and Bateman and James Prochet, he should have been made the biggest disappointment list. I
but
just
we
thought,
we knew he was a fuck up from Jump Street
yeah,
though.
we knew he's a fuck up, but I just thought, this would be his time to play and show what he can do. So they admitted that, that was good that they admitted that. And then, with the Lamar contract, I think they were blowing smoke. I think they do. I think they're being truthful as far as wanting to keep him, but I do think they have a plan B ready to go as well, and probably a plan C. And plan P probably is trade him. I don't think they want to. But I don't think they're going to go crazy and take that big of a risk. I don't think Steve Bisciotti is going to allow it. I don't think they're talking every day like Eric alluded to, because then he also said, well, it takes two to tango. So that tells me Lamar's not also being cooperative. It's just he's a frustrating son of a bitch, man. Like, you say you want the money, but then you don't, like, you're hard to get a hold of. Like, it's annoying to say the least. And then a lot of it, was the typical bullshit. We're really close to a Super Bowl, and
But we're not.
but we're not. No, we need some wideouts. We need to settle the quarterback position. We need some pass rush is the biggest thing on defense. They gotta fucking find somebody that can get to the quarterback. They have to. They have to. They have to.
Yeah, they there's a lot of holes that need to be fixed, and the thing is,
Another corner. They did say they were planning on reaching out to Marcus Peters.
I truly believe that he's going to kind of do what Jimmy Smith did towards the end of his career, where he's going to play here on a couple 1-year deals at lesser money.
He might, because he does like it here. He's made that known. He said Baltimore is good for him. He don't get in trouble here,
which is a great thing.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm going to kind of go back to what they were saying about the Lamar contract situation, and they're not going to sit down in front of the media 4 days after the season ends and say they're going to trade their star quarterback. No. They got and I listened to Mike Preston on the radio, and he said that the last thing the Ravens are going to do is go out to a press conference table and drop the value in which they can get for their star quarterback when they undoubtedly trade him.
And Harbaugh's tune definitely changed on Lamar. Like last week, it was like he was pissed at him, wouldn't even say his name. We're playing with the guys who's out here. And then this guy's, we love Lamar. Lamar's in the plans. Lamar's helping hire the offensive coordinator.
But he's towing the company line because yet again
he's got to.
He's the head coach, but yet again he had a built-in fall man for the season, the way it went. I mean, if you think about the last 2 years, Josh, he's had a fall guy for the way the playoffs ended each time. The last year was Wink Martindale. This year was Greg Roman. They put it on.
His seat's getting warm.
His seat's getting warm, but the thing is, he had 2 fall guys. Now you have a young up-and-coming defensive coordinator that if we have a good defense again next year, is probably going to get head coaching interviews. And
Mike definitely is.
If he has another good defensive year. And then number 2, it all depends on who you bring in for this offensive coordinator. There's a lot of people that are floating around out there name-wise. We've heard about Zach Robinson from the Los Angeles Rams, Eric Bieniemy from Kansas City, Frank Reich, the former Indianapolis Colts.
That's who I want. That's my vote.
The thing is,
you're Frank Reich.
But
Frank Reich will make it right.
But here's my issue with Frank Reich. He might be the guy that could get the most out of the offense, but look at his run in Indy. He did the quarterbacks no favors. So he was the offensive coordinator with Nick Foles and Carson Wentz in 2018 with their Super Bowl team, and that's what got him hired in Indianapolis. But his string of quarterbacks that he had there, he didn't make any of them better. They all regressed under his guidance. He had a year of Jacoby Brissett, I believe, which was a wash. And then he brought Wentz to him. That didn't work. And then Matt Ryan comes in at almost 40 years old, and that didn't work. So in my mind, he's a great coach, but what is he going to do for Lamar that Roman couldn't do? Because to me, that's a linear move at offensive coordinator. It just might be more of a passing attack as opposed to a good run game, because we saw what he could do with Jonathan Taylor, but Jonathan Taylor had a career year last year, and then this year he fell off considerably. I know he was banged up a bit. So Frank Reich isn't my first choice for offensive coordinator. Naturally,
who's your first choice, Matt?
I want the
shit all over Frank.
I'm not shitting all over him. I'm being
aren't running fucking this close to each other 40 yards down
I'm
the field.
Bringing objectivity to it.
I was excited about Frank.
I'm excited about the possibility of adding him, but look at the Indianapolis Colts offense the last couple of years.
They were also sucky quarterbacks too.
But the thing is, it doesn't matter. They were sucky quarterbacks with a good supporting cast. They had a better running back than the Ravens. They had a better wide receiver core than the Ravens. The only thing that the Indianapolis Colts didn't have a better position was tight end. Jonathan Taylor is better than anything we got in Baltimore. Let's just be real about it. Michael Pittman and Paris Campbell And those guys over there, T.Y. Hilton was there for a couple of those years. That was a better wide receiver core than what we had in Baltimore, and they still weren't producing. So, yeah, Frank Reich's a name, and the way that I see names for players is the way you're seeing these names for the coaching vacancy. Give me the young kid Zach Robinson out of Los Angeles. He was over there under the tutelage of Sean McVay. He coached Stafford, got him right during the Super Bowl run. Stafford was hurt this year. They had Baker Mayfield, who's absolute garbage. So, and he even got a couple good games out of Baker. If you're going to go that route, go young. Frank Reich is going to get an offensive coordinator job somewhere. It may be here, but I don't personally want to see Reich be the first choice. And people are talking about Bieniemy coming here. I don't know if Bieniemy is going to make a lateral move unless he wants to truly get away from Andy Reid and prove that he's got the offensive chops to do the job. And that would be a good spot for him. But if we're going to do anything, get the young guy that's been under one of the best head coaches the last 5 years. So I want Zach Robinson to fill that offensive coordinator spot. My worry is that they go in-house.
In-house. No, God. No,
But
please don't. That's my worry.
The thing is, though, Harbaugh has always done in-house promotions on both coordinator sides. The last time he didn't do an in-house promotion was Kubiak. Because when they fired Cam Cameron, Jim Caldwell was already on the staff. It was an in-house promotion. Then the last time they brought in an outside offensive coordinator was Gary Kubiak. And then we cycled through Moore. Mornawig was the offensive coordinator. Roman was already on the staff. He got promoted. So here we are now. You know, I don't want to answer. I don't want to see.
You ruined my answer. I was excited about Frank. Now I don't want him.
But I'm trying to be objective. Like it's real easy to have a former head coach come in as an offensive coordinator, and they say he's offensive minded, and he won a Super Bowl recently. There's recency bias to his Super Bowl run as an offensive coordinator under Doug Peterson. But I'm looking at his track record. He had a good offense and a relatively decent defense, and he didn't produce with a prime Jonathan Taylor and a prime Michael Pittman Jr., and he was saddled with mediocre quarterbacks. To me, Lamar's better than all the quarterbacks that he's had, which I'm not going to sit there and say that he's not, because he is. He's better than every single quarterback that they have over there. But we also don't have offensive weapons outside of Andrews in the running back room. And you got to predicate your offense on expanding and maturing the passing game and the route tree and all those concepts. And we don't have that. So what difference is it going to make? And then you have a quarterback. No quarterback on our roster can make all the NFL throws. They can't. So they need somebody to come in here that's going to be inventive and current with what the NFL offenses are doing right now. So give me Zach Robinson. I might be a little bit biased because.
Do you think he'd want to come here? Because I mean, he can basically go where he wants, right?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, he was only the quarterbacks coach over there, so we can interview him because it's a promotion. So the Rams can't block him. If he was interviewing to be our quarterbacks coach, that's different. But my fear, my worst fear for this whole thing is John Harbaugh promotes either Urban or T. Martin. Now, I'm curious to see what T. Martin, might have up his sleeve, but
God, I hope he doesn't do that. I want something new, man.
But we know Harbaugh has a problem with loyalty, and it's a complete and utter.
He definitely gives his
frustration,
and that's why guys
situation.
Like working for him, man, because you got a good shot to move up if he likes you.
Exactly.
Look at Bill Belichick. That crazy motherfucker put a defensive coordinator as his offensive coordinator this year. Nobody ever talked about that. They're saying O'Brien might be going back there. San Fran won. San Fran versus Philly.
Hey, that's fine with me. I had I had a lot of coworkers that are Dallas Cowboys fans talk shit to me all week, and I told them that their time was coming. They're on suicide watch right now. It's okay.
I
The,
thought I mean Tampa was terrible. They shouldn't have been in the playoffs. That's why Dak had the best game of his career. I mean they suck.
they played a real team.
Yeah.
So let's kind of glide on into the biggest elephant in the room, which is the Lamar situation.
Woo woo.
I had the uh, chance to sit down with the former Raven, who has been quite vocal, and I know that
Mm.
you're not the biggest fan of him. I talked to Bernard Pollard yesterday,
Block him
and
on Twitter. Block him on Twitter.
and
Block.
he said that this is going to be a difficult offseason because Lamar has no agent, and he said that his mom and the NFLPA are doing him a disservice, which I kind of agree.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
Pollard made the biggest assessment that rang true to me last night when we talked is that if Lamar had an agent, he would have never stepped on the field this season until he had a deal done,
Oh, of course,
especially after the fiasco after 2021. So
of
the
course,
problem we're now running into is that the Cincinnati Bengals have came out and openly said that they're going to
of
negotiate
course they did.
a monster extension with Joe Burrow, which is going to be a domino effect for the Los Angeles Chargers negotiating with Justin Herbert. Now you're talking about getting quarterbacks into the $55 million a year range. As I said it earlier in the year,
When
I
does
think
it stop, man? Like, when is it ever going to stop?
it's never
Like,
going to
and then
stop
the
because
next match we're going to talk about we're going to be saying 65 million a year for a fucking
it's
quarterback.
not going
They
to
better
stop.
up the salary cap.
Well, the thing is going to keep as long as the salary cap keeps going up exponentially. So are the quarterback salaries. So now we're really on a time crunch to get our deal done before Joe Burrow gets his deal or Herbert gets his deal.
Because in
Uh,
Lamar's mind, he's as good as Joe Burrow, and he's not even close to being on the same level.
But the thing is, we don't know what's going through Lamar's mind because it's been reported that he's turned down 215 million guaranteed, 225 million guaranteed, 235 million guaranteed. There's people on ESPN that are saying that he's turned down upwards of 250 million guaranteed. So where is this guy's head at? And it's all personal at this point. This is not just business anymore. This is all personal because Lamar has this thought of who he is and what he deserves, and I can't knock him for that because you really only get one opportunity to get a second contract in the NFL because most guys don't make it through their first contract.
Yeah.
I don't blame him for that. But at what point does the Ravens side say this guy is impossible
Enough's enough.
to what this guy's impossible to negotiate with? Now we got to find a sucker, and I think the sucker is right up 95 North. I truly believe the Jets are the sucker that will mortgage the future to win now. And I don't think the Ravens would want to trade him inside the AFC, but that makes the most logical landing spot for him. And that he's saddled with a offense that has weapons. But I just know that they're not going to settle for anything less than what the Texans got for Deshaun Watson because he's arguably a better quarterback.
Yeah.
So
Stupid Browns ruin shit, don't they?
they've ruined everything. They're the factory of sadness for a reason. They're a shit franchise for a reason.
Sure are.
Only thing I thank them for is the 2000 Super Bowl because if they weren't so stubborn about a stadium, we would have never gotten our team. At least in that time frame. It's tough, Josh, because we really don't know what they're going to do with Lamar because.
No, but it's going to happen fast, whatever it's going to be.
But the thing is, it's got to happen fast.
They don't want this looming another year, guys. I'm telling you. And if that's what it's going to be, then they're going to trade him. It's going to hurt a lot of people, and people are going to be mad. But it's a possibility. They're trying to sign him. We know that for a fact. They are trying to get it done.
They're trying,
but
I don't want to.
Yeah, and Jason Lockenford, the little turd that he is, actually made a good point Friday. He said, well, why don't they try, you think about like giving him like all right, since we can't get long-term done, Do you want to sign like a 2-year $60 million deal, or a 2-year $50 million deal, or a 3-year? And then he's still young at the end of that, and still going to get another big bite at the apple. And then maybe in that time frame, can you figure out a long term solution? It just buys you more time, and he'll still be young, and and it wouldn't be foolish to still give him a long term contract.
Here's the biggest problem with this whole thing is
Or we could just be dickheads and franchise him and say fuck it.
There's the problem. That's the problem, Josh. If we franchise him and he signs on the dotted line for that $43 million, you're now looking at the possibility of the team being blown up again. And I was having this conversation with some coworkers. They're Lamar fans, ride or die. And I understand it. I'm a Lamar fan myself. I'm just being objective and I'm being realistic. If they pay Lamar, this is going to be a 2012 going into 2013 season all over again, where you see multiple guys on both sides of the ball walk in free agency or get cut because they cannot afford it under the salary cap. You can't push the franchise tag money into multiple years. It is for that singular year. So now you're going to talk about, okay, if hypothetically, if Lamar plays under the franchise tag, you have no Peters coming back, no Powers coming back. You're going to have to cut Chuck Clark. You're going to have to cut Calais Campbell. You're going to have to cut Michael Pierce. You're going to have to either release or rework Zeitler's contract.
I mean, you got to do that either way. If you sign him or do that.
Yeah. But I'm saying there's more collateral damage and casualties to the franchise tag as opposed to a long-term extension where they can kick a lot of that money.
Because we missed our window because he shit the bed in the playoffs. We missed our window. And now this is the part where you hope he already has a Super Bowl, but he doesn't.
If he has a Super Bowl playoff record. If he has a Super Bowl, we're not talking about this.
We missed the window because now you got to sign him. If we do sign him, and then you got to start making casualties.
And I put that on our front office. I don't only put that on the players on the field. I put that on the coaching staff and the front office as well, Josh. They shit the bed by blowing this window. They had arguably a 4-year window to get guys in here, to surround him with talent, to put talent on the defensive side of the ball. And 14-2, we blew it. Not 2019.
That was the best shot.
That was our best shot, and
we were clearly the best team in football.
We got beat by a team that was not better than us under any circumstances. Nope. 2020 was COVID year. That was a complete wash. Last year, Lamar gets hurt, comes back in the playoffs.
We won in the playoffs that year now. We made it to the divisional round.
We did. And then we
called it a wash.
Well, I mean, we went up to Buffalo and scored what? We scored like 8 or 10 points or something like that.
I know. Yeah, that game was bad, but we still got to that division round.
But you wasted this man's
rookie
contract. You missed the entire window.
Yeah.
That's inexcusable. Now you have to pay. You're either going to pay the man a lot of money
or you start over.
Blow the team up, or you trade him and then you tell the fans and you acknowledge that this is a true rebuild and that we're going to have 6 first-round picks in the next 3 years, and that we're going to rebuild.
And you fans that think we're going to, sign Lamar and then add all these free agent wide receivers, that ain't happening. They're going to have to fucking draft them. Which, hey, Eric's drafted well in other areas. Yeah, it doesn't work for us.
It's not going to happen.
We're cursed in that regard. We can draft everybody else except a wide receiver.
And I want people
It's going to be the same story. Look at the wide receivers. Look at the wide receivers, because you can't trade for a Hopkins or sign a big name.
Oh, that's gone. If Lamar plays under the tag, I want people to get the idea of DeAndre Hopkins out of their head. You're gonna have to wait for somebody like Corey Davis or Adam Thielen,
because that's $43 million straight off the book, straight off the top.
And then
a long-term deal, you can play with it. You can move the money here to there.
With Roquan's deal, he's only a $6 million hit next year. Apparently,
he did us a favor, dude.
He did us a great favor.
He did a team-friendly deal. He could have got more than $100 million on the open market.
So now you're faced with the prospect that the Ravens have $38 million in cap, or $36 million in cap. The franchise tag's 43, so you're 7 in the hole.
Yeah.
We're paying a tight end $9 million next year that is not on our books, and he was the fourth tight end on
And
the
you still
roster.
got to pay your drafted guys. That comes off the
You
cap too,
you got to pay your draft picks. You got to pay.
which is slotted, and you know what it costs, but by where you're picking. But
They need about $8 million for the draft picks next year anyway. The way
yeah,
the money works out.
yeah,
And thank God we only have 5 draft picks next year, which is the lowest we've had in probably 2 decades.
yeah. Us and the Dolphins have the fewest picks in this year's draft.
The only thing that's going to help us is when Ben Powers gets paid by somebody else, we get a 3rd round comp pick or a 4th round comp pick for him.
Yeah, we'll get comp for him. He's going to get paid.
He's going to get paid handsomely for being a very good.
Good for him, man. That's a guy that barely
yeah.
made the fucking team and turned into one of the best guards in football.
Yep, we're going to miss him next year. Hopefully, Ben Cleveland.
Never thought I'd
enough.
say that, man. I thought that dude was a wash.
Oh, I was beside myself when I saw that he was the starting left guard this year.
I'd like to see Cleveland in there. If Cleveland gets a shot next year, I wouldn't make me angry. He only had a few opportunities this year. He didn't dress a lot, but when he did get in, he played well this year.
He did.
He actually looked a little bit athletic.
Oh, for sure, he definitely did. I'm
It
curious
shows
to
he's
see.
trying. It shows he's trying. That was my concern with him. Does this dude really like playing football, or is he worried about eating squirrel brains down in Louisiana somewhere? But obviously he's trying, because you don't have good games like that in the NFL unless you're trying.
I really am. It's gonna be a wild ride.
Interesting,
because
I'm telling you,
because
Lamar
this fan base is
if he's
gonna
getting
melt.
traded, it's coming quick. It ain't gonna be no
They
drawn
are
out
going
thing.
to
They want
absolutely
him
have a
signed.
meltdown.
You can tell they want him signed. I believe with all my heart, they want him signed now or gone now. They don't want this cloud over us anymore. They want to move on from this. We got to know we're going with you or we're not, bud. We're not going with you. We're getting you the fuck out of here, and we got to figure out what we're going to do.
They don't want it to linger.
Come on. You can't give this fucking... I love Lamar. I wanted so bad for him to win a Super Bowl. I've defended him, ruined friendships because of him, sticking up for him. So I'm not a Lamar hater by any means. I love him. I want him to win too. Part of me wants him gone, part of me wants him to stay. But one player is worth killing the team.
I want him to stay,
man.
But we cannot
keep him cripple the team.
To cripple the franchise for 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, it kills you.
It's going to be crippling.
Like we said, you missed the window, so now you got to lose talent around him. It just smells bad to me. I could see us in a year or two saying, "God, remember we were all praying to keep him." Like, this has completely fucked us. He's off hurt somewhere on his job.
Did it. Joe fucked us. Joe completely fucked us.
He won the Super Bowl and relaxed.
Yeah, and then we had to get rid of everybody.
We started having kids and was like, "Man, I ain't staying here no fucking 7 o'clock. I'm going to fuck out."
He was a 9-to-5 quarterback after he won the Super Bowl.
He had his ring. He was set. He was never supposed to win a Super Bowl. He got his money. He got his ring. I can't blame him.
No. Yeah. But the thing is, these fans that are thinking that we're going to destroy our salary cap and trade all these guys like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have and the Los Angeles Rams. This year is a perfect example of what happens when you mortgage the future for a Super Bowl. The Rams got their Super Bowl last year, but their hangover was real. They won like 6 games this year, if that.
And they're fucked for a foreseeable future.
Right. The next couple years is going to be really, really rough over there. And Tampa Bay, they mortgaged and went all in on Brady and Fournette and all those guys, and now that's about to be a real shitty football team again.
Yeah.
If we sign Lamar to this long-term deal, get DeAndre Hopkins out of your head. DeAndre Hopkins is making $19 million a year.
Yeah, it ain't happening.
If you think for 1 second we're going to trade him and then ask him to take an upwards of 50% pay cut or a 70% pay cut to play with Lamar, you're sadly mistaken. That is not going to happen. Then there's rumors popping up that Marquise Brown wants to come back. And that's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's been popping up for a few days. I don't think that's true anyway.
It's been the talk on social media. This is not going to be good. And then if we do trade Lamar, you're going to see an uprising, and then you're going to see a whole bunch of different theories as to why. Now you have a bloated roster with a lot of veterans that are making big dollars, and you're going to have a rookie quarterback again. It's either going to be through the 23 draft, which there's nobody that we would immediately win with, or you got to wait till 24 and we go and get somebody like Derek Carr or Jimmy Garoppolo or somebody of that nature.
Yep.
Go get a bridge veteran and then make try to make a run next year. This is not a good situation any way you look at it. Do I want Lamar to stay? Absolutely. But this is going to cripple us one way or another. We're either going to get a shit ton of draft picks in a trade and we're going to alienate half the fan base, or you're going to keep Lamar on a long-term deal, and then you're going to see us drafting a wide receiver in the first or second round every single year and filtering them out when they're ready to get paid to keep talent around him, because we're not going to be able to pay anybody else. No wide receiver is going to want to voluntarily come here when, number one, we're not going to give them the money they want, and number two, Lamar his first look is always the tight ends, or he runs. And I'm not. So it's going to be crazy. We really don't know. This is going to be the most interesting month of the off season coming up.
We've never been in this situation before.
Never. And this is good.
We got close to it with Joe, and then he won the damn Super Bowl, so it never really. It was like, all right, gotta give it to him now.
This is a defining off season for Eric DeCosta. I love Eric. Don't get me wrong. I think that he's made some very good moves. His drafts haven't been the strongest, but I think he's made up for it on the free agency and trade front. We've gotten Peters, Calais, and Roquan here through midseason trades the last 4 years.
Yeah, he's a damn master at midseason trades.
Yeah, he's great making that midseason splash. He's always working the phones and all that. But this is his most pivotal offseason as the general manager and vice president of the team, because you've really got to figure out what's going to go on with our quarterback, and then everything else will fall into place. You'll know what money you got, because to me, if they trade Lamar, Powers and Peters will stay in Baltimore. That's just my personal opinion. If you trade Lamar and you get the draft picks, you have the luxury to pay your left guard a little bit of money.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of teams are hesitant to pay interior offensive linemen after they saw how much money the Indianapolis Colts gave Quentin Nelson, and he's underperformed on that contract so far.
Yeah, I think that's what hurt Bradley Bozeman last year.
Oh, it definitely did. But the thing is, Bozeman thought that he was going to be an $11 or $12 million a year lineman, and he ended up being a $7 million lineman, which is still great money. The way, and no matter how you look at it, I'm happy he got paid. I love Bradley Bozeman. He did a ton of stuff for us off the field and on the field. Him and his wife are great people, so I'll never knock him for chasing the money. He's doing what he had to do. So we're really good. The news is going to break, and we're either going to be in complete shock that Lamar Jackson's going to be sitting at an introductory press conference.
It's going to be shocking. Every time I get a notification, I'm like,
is it going to happen? Yeah. We're either going to see Lamar signing for $50 million a year, or we're going to see Lamar gets traded to some city, and he's going to be sitting at a press conference with a different team's hat and jersey on, and it's gonna be an absolute meltdown in the city.
Oh my God, people are gonna flip out. Man.
It's gonna be a complete meltdown.
John should have been going. They ruined Lamar.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm really kind of hesitant to check my alerts, like you said, when it pops up with like Bleacher Report or anybody that I do the alert system through, man. So it's gonna be tough, man, for sure. It's definitely gonna be tough. Our comments are going crazy. A lot of people are talking about the team MVP. Mark Cowden is suggesting that if Likely has a good year next year, and Kohler's the real deal too, you trade Lamar or you trade Andrews and get that money off the books.
That would hurt, but that's not a terrible comment.
It's not a horrible comment. Mark, just to clarify, I did give the reasons why I thought Urban was the unsung hero. The guy was a steady force in the middle when Calais missed time and when Matabike missed time. The dude was multifaceted. He was good on special teams, so that was my justification for that. A lot of people were saying Roquan deserved to be team MVP. That argument can be made because of the impact that he had on the defense. Let's see. Jay Young said the Ravens need to go do what the Eagles did and go get a wide receiver that can play at a high level and open the playbook. We're already at a draft capital deficit. I don't see them mortgaging even more unless it made absolute complete sense and it was a steal. I don't see them doing that. Jason Young also said that Lamar's never had a Jamar Chase or a T. Higgins to throw to. We went and got him 2 wide
Mark
receivers.
Andrews is his Jamar Chase.
Exactly.
That's where he throws.
We drafted 2 wide receivers in the first round 2 years apart.
Yeah, and that's where he throws. He goes
and we drafted a tight end in the first and third round. Yeah. So,
even a lot of his passes to Marquise Brown, a lot of people make that argument. Go back and watch the film. Read the stats. Even to Marquise Brown, yeah, there's a lot of big plays where he hit him outside the numbers. But a lot of his passes were inside the numbers. Maybe just inside, but they were still inside the numbers. A lot of curls, a lot of slants. Hell of a lot of curls inside the numbers.
Jay also said that Roquan publicly stated that he wanted to be here and this is his type of football. Yeah, I mean, it's a completely different culture from Chicago. You went from a team of perpetually losing to a team perpetually winning and always being in contention. And not to mention, we have a lot more defensive pieces that were good as opposed to Chicago. He was the missing link. In Chicago, he was the guy. He's the guy here, but he didn't have the defensive line or the secondary that we have in Chicago.
Yeah.
And I got a question from our buddy Tim. Did I give the Raising Cane's review yet live? And no, I did not, Tim. And to let everybody know, I posted it on Facebook earlier. It was the most overrated meal that I've had with such high expectations. The chicken was all right. The sauce was all right. The fries sucked, but that garlic or that buttered toast was on point. That's about the best part of it. Was that didn't disappoint. But the Raising Cane's, it's just the hype is new because there's only one in Maryland that's currently open right now. So yeah, Tim, it was overrated, overhyped. I'm not a fan of the Raising Cane's. Plus, it fucked my stomach up. So there's that. And you thought it was hilarious when I told you that earlier.
Yes.
So that will wrap the show, Josh. That was a solid hour. We got all of our talking points across on our agenda that we talked about pre-show. And
what's the next thing going to be?
The next show is going to probably be the Royal Rumble preview.
Royal Rumble.
We're probably going to have a couple of people on for that. Chris, our sponsor at Grade 8 Sports Memorabilia, we're going to try and have Chris on, as well as a couple other people. And that'll be our show next week. And then we will get into spring training. We're going to have a baseball super show on Driving to the Top Productions. And if anybody is listening still, if you like and share this video, you will be entered in a chance to win our next giveaway. It's going to be a surprise. It is an autographed Raven photo, a frame photo, but we are going to keep it a surprise. So if you like and share this, your name will automatically be entered to win. So everybody go ahead and do that. Like, share. A lot of you guys comment. I will put your names into our raffle database, and we will announce the winner at our Royal Rumble
we don't
show.
choose it. We don't choose it. The computer does.
Yes. So I will announce the winner of our next giveaway at the Royal Rumble show later this
I'll
week.
be winning. Shit.
Go ahead and shut the show down, my man.
Ravens fans, I know the Bengals won today, but it is what it is. We'll be back. We'll be back strong. Fuck the Bengals. Fuck Joe Burrow. Josh Allen, you choked, you motherfucker. Let's shut it down. Shut you down too.